I'm Sue O'Connell, and when it comes to theater, I defer to Stephen Sondheim. What got Stephen Sondheim's attention recently was a plan to turn Boston's Colonial Theater into a student center. Sondheim said the Colonial is a treasure, and to tear it down would not only be a loss, but something of a crime. So who am I to argue? Later in the show, we'll take a closer look at the peril waiting in the wings. But tonight's show begins with some backbiting, bluster, and some threats in the contest for president. And this time, it's the Democrats. Bernie Sanders is not a happy camper. He dodged questions from reporters this afternoon. His campaign fired a staffer for hacking into Hillary Clinton's voter list, but Sanders' campaign manager claims the real crime was committed by the Democratic National Committee. He accused the DNC of incompetence in handling voter information and doing so in a way that favored Hillary Clinton.
In other words, by their action, the leadership of the Democratic National Committee is now actively attempting to undermine our campaign. This is unacceptable. Individual leaders of the DNC can support Hillary Clinton in any way they want, but they are not going to sabotage our campaign. We are announcing today that if the DNC continues to hold our data hostage and continues to try to attack the heart and soul of our grassroots campaign, we will be in federal court this afternoon seeking immediate relief.
And indeed, the Sanders campaign did file suit, saying the DNC's block against accessing voters' lists has caused irreparable injury and financial losses. For reaction, I'm joined by Democratic political analyst Jesse Mermel, and Jeff Simone is the executive director of the Massachusetts Young Republicans. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
I want to start with you, and what we have here is data that didn't exist 10 years ago, which is kind of, wow, we've made it to the future. The company that handles the data made the mistake. It wasn't an active breach.
True.
Right? And then, of course, like any good campaign worker, they looked at the information about the New Hampshire voters, and this is what got the DNC all upset, right?
Right. So we know two things, right? We know that the DNC is saying that the Sanders campaign has violated the contract that they signed and that the other campaign signed to have access to their voter information. We know the Sanders campaign respectfully disagrees with that assessment of the facts, and now they've gone to court, and they'll settle it, and hopefully they'll settle it very quickly, because this needs to go away. We need to get back to talking about the issues and not talking about voter databases that nobody cares about.
Right, and Jeff, the Sanders campaign is also claiming, well, this happened to them as well. You know, this data wasn't as secure as it should have been. But the bigger picture, the bigger question here is the DNC leaning towards helping Hillary Clinton more than helping Bernie Sanders, and what should be an even race?
The biggest mistake the DNC made was telling the Sanders campaign that they can't access the data anymore other than just letting it go. The idea
now, this is data that they paid $100,000 to the Sanders campaign in order to have access to.
True, but anytime you mention Hillary Clinton and data and breaches and security, it's not going to go well. People automatically think of what we've been hearing about for the past 6 months with her email, and as a Republican, I'm happy to remind the thousands of viewers at home about that. But honestly, this is something that the staffer on Bernie's campaign shouldn't even have been fired. He should have been promoted. I mean, this is, we're not, he didn't do anything, he didn't hack into anything.
He didn't hack into
This
it.
is something, there was a supposed firewall between two campaigns.
Well, as I said,
he accessed the data. I mean, this is something that, in all honesty, is very low level and a complete overreaction, and the media overreaction to the overreaction is going to be a bigger story.
Quoting John Kerry when he was running for president, who among us wouldn't look at the data if it just came out? I mean, it is sort of a low level. Does it rise to the level of scandal, or is it just...
No, it rises to the level of holiday times news story during the slow period.
Okay, let's turn to the latest Donald Trump story. There's a mutual admiration society involving Trump and Russia's Vladimir Putin. Today on Morning Joe, things got weird when Trump was asked about it.
Joining us now, Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump. Donald, good morning.
Good morning.
How's it going?
It's going well.
Yeah? Do you like Vladimir Putin's comments about you?
Sure. When people call you brilliant, it's always good, especially when the person heads up Russia.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, also as a person that kills journalists, political opponents, and invades countries. And invades countries, obviously, that it would be a concern, would it not?
He's running his country, and at least he's a leader, you know, unlike what we have in this country.
journalists that don't agree with him?
Well, I think our country does plenty of killing also, Joe. So, you know. There's a lot of stupidity going on in the world right now, Joe. A lot of killing going on, a lot of stupidity, and that's the way it is. But you didn't ask me the question. You asked me a different question, so that's fine.
You know, there's a great moment when you're watching TV and you wonder if the host is actually going to say what he's thinking, and then Joe actually said it. Does Trump not understand that, you know, there are better leaders in the world and not so good leaders in the world?
You know, it's interesting. This is a really good example of why Donald Trump appeals to so many people, because he is exuding strength, even if it's a compliment from a horrible dictator like Vladimir Putin. I mean, you know, in the current state of our climate, of politics after Paris, after San Bernardino, and the president's reaction and the Democratic Party's reaction, including Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, there is an appeal that is going to that is a lot of people are responding to about this just strength, no matter what side
Jesse,
it's
can
coming
we get through this campaign, Trump, without ever reading the Constitution or the Bill of Rights?
He's gonna try.
I mean,
He's
it's a little stunning.
making every effort to not grasp even the most basic concepts from second grade social studies classes. It's actually impressive how committed he is to his ignorance.
It is.
We gotta give him credit for that.
It's like a toddler almost. It's working out
Oh,
well.
let's not insult toddlers.
Moving right along, there were some choice moments between Jeb Bush and Trump in the debate on Tuesday night. Here's a highlight reel that we put together for you.
So Donald, you know, is great at the one-liners, but he's a chaos candidate, and he'd be a chaos president. He would not be the commander-in-chief we need to keep our country safe.
Mr. Trump, Jeb doesn't really believe I'm unhinged. He said that very simply because he has failed in this campaign. It's been a total disaster. Nobody cares.
Said in September 30th that ISIS was not a
Am I
not a
talking
factor.
or are you talking, Jeb?
I'm
You
talking
can go
right
back.
now. I'm talking.
You can go back. You're not
I'm
talking.
talking.
You interrupted me,
September
Jeb.
30th,
Are you going
you
to
said it.
apologize, Jeb? No. Am I allowed to finish?
Yeah, one at a time. Go
Excuse
ahead,
me, am I allowed to finish?
Go ahead, Mr. Trump.
So,
Little of your own
again,
medicine there,
I know you're trying to
Governor
build
Bush,
up your energy,
please.
Jeb, but it's not working.
One at a
very
time.
Yeah.
well. Look.
You think this is tough and you're not being treated
This
fairly?
isn't tough and easy.
Imagine
I wish
what it's
it-
going to be like
I wish
dealing
it
with
was
Putin,
always
or
as
dealing
easy
with
as you,
President
Jeff.
Xi, or dealing with the Islamic terrorism
Oh,
that
yeah.
exists. This is a tough business to run for
I know,
president.
you're a tough guy, Jeb.
And we need to have a leader that is
Real
principled.
tough.
You're never going to be president of the
You're
United
real
States
tough,
by
Jeb,
insulting
yeah?
your way to
well,
the
let's see, I'm
presidency.
at 42 and you're at 3, so
Doesn't
far
matter.
I'm doing better.
Doesn't matter.
So far I'm doing better.
What did Jeb Bush do in a prior life to end up in this situation? This is clearly a disaster for the GOP, is it not?
Clearly something terrible, and he's being punished. I mean, you mentioned toddlers. Donald Trump's face and his reaction reminds me of like when my 4-year-old nephew gets insulted and he just makes a face and says, "I know you are, but what am I?" I mean, it is a level of immaturity is really the only word that comes to mind, and I can't get over it.
What can Jeb Bush do? I mean, he's
Nothing.
clearly has the best grasp of foreign policy. He's clearly a smart person. He's clearly a governor. Governors tend to really have a great grasp of what it takes to be president. What can he do? Nothing?
Nothing. I mean, well, nothing that he's tried so far, at least. Look, Jeb Bush is not a natural candidate from what we're seeing now. From every debate you've seen, he does not have that delivery of a Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz or even Donald Trump. And Donald Trump bullies him on the stage, and as much as Jeb wants to hit him back, he's not prepared to step up and really take him on, and you have an exchange like that. I mean, the idea that somebody can act as undignified as Donald Trump in that situation is off-putting to a lot of Republicans.
I can imagine with the Bush family, which is great service to our country, regardless of what you think. Well, Trump was crowing the day after the debate when he made a spectacular entrance for a rally at an airplane hangar in Arizona, and then he riffed off on all of his opponents.
You know, it's hard to, they're saying, are you going to run as an independent? I said, you know, I just got a poll where I'm at 41 and other guys are at 2 and 3 and 7. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Oh, I think I'll leave now and I'll run as an independent. So, I had Jeb come at me, you know, low energy. And Hillary Clinton is a disaster. She's going to be beaten. She's a disaster. You know, I went in there saying, boy, this is going to be a tough evening, because I heard all of them were going to come at me, right? Paul, who doesn't have a chance. I mean, what's he doing? By the way, what is Rand Paul doing?
It would be nice if he could just run for, like, you know, maybe a critic on Fox News or something, but...
For which he's highly qualified.
You know, the entrance alone, folks should find that on YouTube and watch this plane coming into the hangar. You think about Trump as the 1%, and surely, you know, the audience that he's meeting here is not in the top 10%, because it's hard to be in the top 10%, yet they're eating it up.
Yeah, I don't get what's going on. I appreciate that it's very genuine and people are angry and there's something real about Donald Trump that folks are connecting with, but I don't understand it. And the thing I'm struggling with is, at what point does the Republican Party stop focusing on winning, being worried about offending him, being worried about alienating his voters, maybe having him run as an independent, and think about what's actually good for the country and what's actually reflective of American values.
Jeff, it's hard.
I
Go ahead.
want to caution the Democrats out there who are treating this with snark and dismissiveness.
Well, I don't know if there's a lot of Democrats treating it with snark.
Let me tell you something
I
right
think
now.
people have been taking his campaign very seriously.
Yeah, there's been a real
because
pivot.
there is a pivot right now. I don't think he will win the nomination, but he could. And if he does, compared to the first clip we showed, where he is exuding strength, and you have somebody like Hillary Clinton who is not and is weaker and appears to be weaker, that is going to appeal to a lot of people no matter what he says. And that is going to be a very interesting election, and it is not a slam dunk for Hillary Clinton.
The debate on Tuesday also featured a clash of Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz. It went something like this.
As far as Ted's record, I'm always puzzled by his attack on this issue. Ted, you support legalizing people who are in this country illegally. Ted Cruz supported a 500% increase in the number of H-1B visas, the guest workers that are allowed into this country, and Ted supports doubling the number of green cards.
It is not accurate what he just said, that I supported legalization. Indeed, I led the fight against his legalization and amnesty bill. And you know, there was one commentator that put it this way, that for Marco to suggest our record's the same, it is like suggesting the fireman and the arsonist have the same record because they're both at the scene of the fire.
That was a good one. Which one won the debate that night?
If you go on the facts, it's Marco Rubio.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go back and look at what Ted Cruz did, he offered several amendments that were meant to be poison pills. So he says now, but at the time he was very vehemently advocating for that, for a point of legalization as opposed to citizenship. And that was a distinct difference in why he came out with it at the time. Marco Rubio, I think, has been more intellectually honest in coming out and at least saying he learned a lesson from his Gang of Eight bill. Personally, I respect that a lot more than kind of the lawyer's dodge that you're getting from Ted Cruz on this. I think Ted Cruz needs to be a little bit more upfront with the voters on this issue because, you know, from a lot of people's perspective, he might be more in their camp, but this is the kind of dodging that just does not go over well with
So,
Republican
Marco
voters.
Rubio, what does he need to do? I mean, he clearly had a couple of opportunities there where he schooled Donald Trump. He's coming across as reasoned and smart. He's a very smart guy, no doubt about that. What does he need to do to break away?
Oh, goodness. Well, I think, you know, he needs to do what all of them need to do. Find that secret that no one has been able to figure out yet, to position yourself right behind Donald Trump and stay there, right? Ben Carson was right there, couldn't stay there. Other people have been there, couldn't stay. He's got to figure out that thing, crack the code no one else has been able to do, and then hope that what we have all been predicting and incorrectly predicting for months now, that Donald Trump goes away, actually happens.
You know, we're seeing in polls that 75% of the Iowans in the GOP are undecided, and of that 75%, 58% can't name a favorite yet. So, you know, other than the Trump supporters, it's still wide open.
And what really needs to happen is, quite honestly, people like John Kasich, Carly Fiorina, Ben Carson need to drop out. I mean, if this race really comes down to top 3 or 4 candidates against or competing for that non-Trump spot, that's what's got to take place, and even Jeb Bush. And I think after New Hampshire, you're going to start see a very quickly narrowing of the field. And when that happens, that's when you're going to see a real race.
There's been some secret Democratic debates in the Democratic Party. There's one coming up that no one is talking about. You know, as much as I hate from a journalist standpoint when the candidates kind of take a back seat and let things develop without having to get in the way of themselves. I mean, you know, what's going on with the Democrats and the lack of debates? And debates on Saturday night, and then there's another one that's coming up on Sunday night during football season.
I know. I don't think the number of debates is as big of a problem. They have so many more candidates than we do. We'll have 3 to their 5, given the vast difference in the number of candidates. That doesn't bug me. I'm with you. Why are we holding our second debate on a Saturday night this weekend?
Before Christmas.
And the thing is, we actually have a great story to tell. Our debates have been really strong. They've been substantive. We've told
But they're not
a really
reaching
good
out.
message.
It doesn't seem like they're
It's
reaching out
frustrating
to
me.
include, you know, more people into the Democratic Party. It seems like we're just trying
they're
to.
not reaching out.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're being really honest about this situation, the DNC has set this up to protect Hillary Clinton. And people can feel free to disagree with me on that, but
And I do.
But everybody I think really pretty much knows what's going to happen, and half of America will be watching Star Wars on Saturday night instead of watching this debate. And they just put it on a Wednesday. I mean, there's been one primetime debate. That's a shame.
You've never seen Hillary Clinton debate. She's amazing. And
I've seen it several times, and I look forward to the general election.
Well, the way you're talking about it doesn't sound like it.
We'll be there. We'll be watching it Saturday night, no doubt about it. Next, thank you both. Have a great holiday. Thanks for coming in. Next, peril waiting in the wings of Boston's Theater District. Is it lights out for the Colonial? Boston Magazine's Patty Hartigan is covering the story. My interview with her is